So Kentucky, they 64% of Kentuckians had died for the War of 1812, the war that murdered Tecumseh, the war that stole all the Indian land in the Northwest, in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, just on I think out to Montana. And you have 64% of Kentuckians had died for that cause, whatever that cause was, getting other people fucking Indian land. And so 64% of the deaths that had happened in War of 1812 were Kentuckians. You had 100,000 Kentuckians who fought for the Union and 25,000 that fought for the Confederacy. And then the narrative changed immediately after the war, right? They was all fucking Confederate sympathizers. They wanted to keep their fucking slaves. But really it was the Ku Klux Klan that was running everything. They was running everything through violence and intimidation. And here we are today. So the War of 1812 just proves that they're Indian genociders, and then the Civil War proves that they're fucking racist against black folks who they want to just enslave, So to finish out Lula Chambers, I wear glasses sometimes. I've been a member of the church for over 50 years. My membership is in Prince of Peace Baptist Church. So she's a Baptist, right? Her fucking mammy was a Baptist. She used to give her fucking water and shit when she was in the fucking church because she was such an asshole. And she's been ever since she was in St. Louis, so she keeps on this fucking Christianity that she was, the white man's fucking religion. She carries on the white man's religion. I just want to be ready to meet him when he's ready for me. God, right? I can't wait to meet God. My only trouble would be to love white folks. They be treating my race so bad. My pastor, Reverend Fred McDonald, always tells me I'll have to forgive them and love them if I wants to go to heaven. But honey, that's going to be a lifetime job. I don't care how long God lets me live. It'd still be a hard job. I get an old age pension. It's very little, but I thank God for that. I have nothing left to do now in this world but to pray, thank God for His goodness, and be ready for when He comes. This rheumatism, serves me so bad I can't be happy much. Wish I could remember more to tell you, but I can't. The old woman is well preserved for her years. Written by Grace E. White. So, again, white fucking narrative, right? But, yeah, so it just kind of shows Lola Chambers. Lola Chambers, who came out of Gallatin County. She was a slave of Dave Lillard and Patsy Lillard. You have Knox Lillard Road, so I would assume that's probably where they're at. The Lillards had over 100 slaves, and they were breeding fucking farms, so they was just making slaves for other fucking people. And this is like, she lived through the Civil War and shit, so she lived through the Civil War, right? Most Kentuckians fought for the Union, but after the Civil War, the Confederacy took over, and you had white teachers that tried to teach some of the black folks after the war, but then the white people had pushed them out. The Freedmen's Bureau, that happened here in Kentucky, right? The Freedmen's Bureau saw that there's a race riot in 1866 in Gallatin County, and the race riot pushes I want to say 200 to 300 or 400, 200 black folks. 200 black folks was pushed across the river in 1866. So immediately after the war, you had the Ku Klux Klan just rise up, and then the Confederates were being elected into office, in the political office. And even into Louisville for like till the 1920s, like that I've seen evidence of. So Confederates were fucking running shit for at least 60 years. I suspect they probably got some power still today. The worst lashing the slaves ever got was when they caught away from home without a pass. They got whipped hot and heavy. This is a Lola thing. Something interesting. She says she didn't like, the slaves. She was taking on the slave religion, and she couldn't wait to fucking go to their heaven. But she did say that she didn't like how they treated her. So she does have the sense to kind of, look past. I was thinking she's gonna be like a house Negro and just love her master and shit, but she says she can't love white folks. It's very hard. So after the war, I guess there's segregation. They're living in their own communities and shit, and they're starting to talk amongst each other and help each other out. So I don't know. She was in Arkansas, and she got an old age pension from somewhere, and I don't know where she got that pension from. Maybe the government. So maybe the government was giving Social Security out back then. And that's good, an old age pension, so that way she can live on something that's not much, but it's something that she can keep on going with. The other slave narrative that I found from Gallatin County is a man by the name of Felix L. Hensley. And Felix L. Hensley, he's non-agrarian, I don't even know what the fuck that even means. Non-agrarian, known as a soldier of fortune, a balloon jumper, and a master house cleaner, expects to live to be 100 years old. Felix Lindsey lives at 800 Gallatin Street in the colored edition. I don't know where Gallatin Street is, and I don't even know what city we're fucking talking about here. So, in the color disc, he's a tall Negro with a neat white beard. He's an interesting talker and is recently interviewed by a reporter for the Wichita Post. So, I guess that's, or the Wichita Post. So, Wichita, which I don't know where Wichita is. Concerning the balloon jump of 1866. 1866. Wichita. What are we talking about? Wichita. Wichita. Kansas? Where the fuck is Wichita? Kansas. Wichita, Kansas. So, right on the money. So, after much persuasion, he told us the story. So, he is a balloon jumper. I guess he jumped out of a balloon. I don't know. So, he was born in Rocket Branch, Kentucky. I don't know where Rocket Branch is. They say he's out of, Warsaw in Gallatin County. So, where is Rocket Branch? I don't know of any Rocket Branch. But he's born in out of Rocket Branch, Kentucky. He was born October 10th, 1847. So that's, he lived through the Civil War years as a youth. He was about 61. So that would be, no, he wasn't 61, but 61 was the start of the war. So 47 minus 61 is 14. So he would have been 14 years old when the Civil War had started. So Felix L. Hensley is explaining about his balloon jumping. So I'm born in Rocket Branch, Kentucky, October 10th, 1847. My mother's a half-breed Creek Indian. Her name is Charity, and she died about 1853. My father's name was Faithful, and he was a full-blood Creek, and he was killed in the war between Mexico and the United States. So Felix L. Hensley's got sort of a self-hating concept. He is 75%, Native American. He's half-breed Creek and then full-blood Creek. So he's actually 75% Muskogee Creek Indian. But because he's got 25% black blood in him, by the outside he's, I guess by black standards or by, I don't know, by whose standards, but he's identifies himself as black, and so does a lot of other folks. But he's going to meet Geronimo, and Geronimo is going to talk to him about something about how, hey, you're an Indian. Why would you not fight for your Indian brethren? And then he was like, I fucking hate Indians. I ain't no goddamn Indian. I'm a fucking black person. And it's kind of like, it's so stupid, man. It's so stupid. So, reminds me of like the blacks versus the Mexicans. It's like they're fighting amongst each other when white supremacy is equally fucking going against them. So, his mother's name is Charity. His father's name is Faithful. So, he's born of Charity and Faithful, right? And these are fucking Native Americans' names. So, I mean, why he doesn't have any fucking love for them? Maybe he was bred to hate fucking Indians since he was raised around white people who were killing him. He says his dad died in the Mexican-American War. And then he says that his mother died in 53, so 5 years after he was born. So he's 7 years old, and he went to live with Jefferson and Emmanueline Peaks. So Jefferson and Emmanueline Peaks, he was raised up by them. So Peaks, none of those names strike a bell. It was slavery time, but Mr. Peaks didn't believe in slaves. They lived in Oakland Ridge, Kentucky, and they raised me like their own. I have no idea where these places are. Oakland Ridge, Kentucky is where they said he was raised. When I was 17, Mr. Peaks sent me to Cincinnati to learn business. It almost sounds like he's raised by Germans because they don't believe in slaves, but they still had him, right? They raised him like his own son. He says he sent me to Cincinnati to learn business. I went up and down the Ohio River, and I bought up tobacco and sorghum and cotton and pigs and cattle. So this motherfucker's going around buying all this shit on the Ohio River. Tobacco, sorghum, cotton, pigs, and cattle, right? I don't even know what sorghum is. Sorghum, what do they need sorghum for? What the fuck is that shit? Cotton, pigs, and cattle. I'm going to find it out now. What is sorghum? Right? Quick little Google search. Sorghum. It's a genus of numerous species of grass. A genus, one of which was raised for grain and fodder plants, either cultivated as a part of the pasture. Plants are cultivated in warmer climates. I don't know. I don't know what the uses would be for it, to be honest with you. The production of alcoholic beverages, biofuels, food, fodder, so I guess for like animal feed. But it also makes fucking, alcohol and shit, so I guess it could be a number of things. So, cotton, pigs, cattle, tobacco, sorghum. I got my market quotation by mail boat, United States. Then Mr. Peaks employed me to buy tobacco and be a trader for him. One time a traveling show came to Oakland Ridge. There was all sorts of attractions. The mostest one was a balloon ascension. The show people wanted someone to go up and make the jump with the parachute. People was pretty scared. They didn't want nobody to go up. Everybody wanted someone else to do it, just like those things go, you know. So the show people, they offer $50 to anybody and make the jump. It seems like that $50 looked pretty good to me. I got to thinking more about the $50 and less about the ride. So I say, all right, I'll go. We fly so high, the folks on the ground, they look about 2 inches high. So he's up in a balloon, right? And I guess it says a parachute jump. The balloon began to go down. We was right over the Ohio River, and I just couldn't make up my mind to jump, but it looked like I have to if I don't want to get all tangled up in the ropes and the balloon fall on me. I don't know what he's talking about, man. So I swung the basket back and forth, back and forth. It was about 200 feet above the water. I pick out the part of the river, which is about 50 foot deep, and I dived. My feet hit the bottom, but I came up for air to swim to the Newport side, and I climbed out and got my 50. You ought to hear them all yell. So it sounds like he's got a parachute, they're saying, but I don't understand why his feet would hit the bottom. He dives, right? He says he dives, but his feet hit the ground, so I guess he's more like a pencil. And his feet hit the bottom, he come up for air, and then he got his $50. But 200 feet above the water, he jumps. I don't understand what's going on. He doesn't have a parachute, right, because he's going down the water, so he's just jumping out of a hot air balloon. After that, I didn't want to settle down no more, so I joined the Army. Yeah, I guess that was pretty exhilarating, right? So I joined the Army in 1882, and I wanted to see the world. I came out west to Texas in 1882, and I fit all around the border. I was stationed at Fort Davis several years, and then I went to Fort Sill. I was injured in the legs, and I couldn't work, so I was in the hospital corps, but my legs kept getting worse, so I asked to be dismissed, and they brought me to Wichita Falls. I went into a house cleaning business as an overseer or supervisor, what they calls it now. I couldn't do no work, so I hired other colored men. I built up quite a business. So he's a fucking slave owner, man. Fucking Felix L. Lindsey, right? He's a supervisor. He's the overseer, right? That's what a fucking supervisor is, the overseer. You're not the master. You're just a little bitch of the master who fucking thinks you got some authority because you're the overseer. You have the authority over them, right? I rely on you to do, you know, get them in line. So the overseer, supervisor, he starts a business with he hired other colored folks, so maybe it's not slaves. I married a Tennessee girl when I was 46 and was doing fine until the Great Depression. I gave up my business and went to work for the government. I was special delivery agent for the post office in Wichita Falls. Mr. Otis B. Bacon was postmaster then in 1900. I got the job because I was a soldier so long and my record was good. About 10 years ago, my health got so bad I was sick in bed a long time. I'm better now, and I supervises my family. He oversees his family. Felix Lindsey, I was born in Rocky Branch, Kentucky, October 10th. My mother's name is Charity. She was half-breed, Creek Indian. It's all kind of repeating here. But it tells more of the stuff afterwards. Okay, so there's actually more here. So it was a custom of slave owners to buy slaves at the auction. They said the highest bid. Bullshit. They try to get as cheapest as they can. This motherfucker's an Uncle Tom. I thought he was going to be cool and Lula Chambers was going to be it, but actually Lula Chambers turned out to be badass, and Felix, he's being treated good by the white man, so he don't understand, you know, the his conditions. So he lived in Oakland Ridge, Kentucky, although he was born during the time of slavery in a slave state. That Peaks didn't believe in slaves. From my earliest memory, I can remember different ones that were owners of slaves. Mr. Epps was a cruel man to his slaves, so much so until the people of the community forced him to move away. It was the custom of the slave owners to buy the slaves at auction at the highest bid. Naturally, the younger slaves brought a higher price than the older ones, because they was physically stronger and better able to do the tasks set them by their master. From time to time, the slaveholders would go around to different plantations seeking to buy or trade slaves or making an exchange of something of value for some slave that they desired. The duties of the slaves was hard and their hours were long. Some slave owners were so cruel that they would assign a slave or a group to a certain task, and should they fall short of that assignment, they were brought in at night and assessed a punishment of so many lashes from a bullwhip at the hands of the owner or whoever he should designate. It was said of Mr. Epps that there was nothing too cruel for him to do to his slaves. Education of the slaves was scant until about the year of 1864. Prior to 1864, what education the slaves might obtain by selection. When the slave was ambitious, desirous of obtaining education, he was severely punished. The only chance for obtaining any knowledge was to hide out and obtain it that way. That's how Frederick Douglass did it. Sometimes they were caught and they were punished for their reward. It was the purpose and intentions of the slave owners to keep the slaves ignorant. Some slave owners were so cruel that the slaves would attempt to escape. Those who were not so fortunate enough to get away were caught and severely beaten at times and had punishment. They were either traded or sold. Some other slave owners would be cruel to them. There are so many things I could relate on the subject that it would require a deal of time and space would not permit me to do so, as I remember earlier, blah, 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 blah. So his adventures with Geronimo.